this morning and G and I had a discussion about what the day's activities included. Pretty much the same as yesterday. Well, a little bit of variety. Yeah, a little bit of variety. But today, I can see the mountains. So anytime I can see the mountains is a good day. And I know that as the days march forward, G tells me that good weather is on the forecast. Even if I have to bundle up to sit out and have happy hour, I'm A-okay with that. But lots going on in the beehive. And so that keeps me very much occupied. I started working on a kit that I bought at Old World Quilt Shop, and I love this designer. I believe she is local to Arizona, but she does birds, and who doesn't love birds? And so I have bought a couple of her kits, and probably will buy many more. And the kits that Monique packs at Old World Quilt Shop, which I'll link below, are just perfect. And so here is the kit I am working on today. I am tracing my motifs, and this is called Gable's Quail. And I felt the need to get this kit out and make it's a pillow. It's made for a pillow, but you could do anything you want for it. But I do want it as a pillow in my living room because I have noticed that the quail are back out. I have seen them ever so tentatively running around, and I have always loved quail watching. Because there's the guy who stands up on the high ground and keeps a lookout for everything going on and warns the others, and it just seems wherever we have lived in the past there have been quail, and so I knew I needed to make this. And the artist designer is Allison Lang, but if you call Old World Quilt Shop, oh man, I have a flicker. She has, I believe she has a cardinal and an owl, and they're all just fabulous. And Monique and the gals at Old World Quilt Shop pack everything you need. The only thing you're going to need for that is the thread. You have the backing to make the pillow, and all the wool you need for the pillow. Of course, I use SF101 and soft fuse, so those are not included because not everybody is that kind of person. But that's what I'm working on today. I'm using my miso table that I just love, my light table. And the interesting thing I have to tell you about this this particular designer is she does not overlap any pieces. All of the pieces are butted together, which I've never done before, but I am thinking that that is going to be a smoother piece. But what I did do was I did not just trace the whole motif. I did separate each piece because I know my cutting isn't always perfect. So I'll show you more of that later in the video as I get working on that. But first I have to show you what I got in the mail. Well, first I'm going to tell you about the t-shirt quilt. You'll notice it's done. The top is done. And interestingly enough, I had enough of the pieces to just do a traditional sashing and border quilt. Although the bottom blocks, because I wanted them a certain size, I kind of sewed 2 t-shirt blocks together, no sweat, and then cut them to the size I wanted. So that is all ready. But what happens is in Sisters, because Sisters, let me explain, if you don't know, it's a little town. We are a little town And so things are slightly, maybe not quite, although they're pretty locked down, there are some things that can happen that maybe are not happening in bigger cities. And so if you need anything from the quilt shop, you can call ahead, and only for a 2-hour period in the morning. You can call ahead and tell them what you need, and you drive up to the back door, and they will drop it in the back seat of your car. So that has been a lifesaver for the quilters in town. Yeah, it's just different, isn't it? It's just different. I know some towns, some bigger cities throughout the nation, Joann's is opened and Hobby Lobby is opened. None of those places are opened for us. They consider that too big of a store. But I did get some things from the Stitch and Post because I needed a back for that. So I got my backing. And I wanted something, it's really hard sometimes to pick out fabric when you haven't really, seen it, but this is a beautiful fabric that is, it just has a lot of nice things written on it. And my cousin is into planting a garden and all of that. So this is the fabric that I got. It is, let's see, who is this by? It's Wyndham Fabrics. Wyndham Fabrics presents Love the Earth. So perfect, so perfect. So I'm going to be sewing the back of this, the backing for this t-shirt quilt, and then I'm going to throw it into a sack and call ahead to my long arm guy who lives around the corner from me, Hal, and drop it on his front porch. And, with a t-shirt quilt, I know that I don't have to be involved in the big decision making of that. So I'll be able to get that quilt done. But I'm real happy with how it turned out. And I guess the next t-shirt quilt probably won't happen for a while because I need to get back into some of the other things like Tannenbaum and some other quilts that I have in the works. And this is my design wall and I need it. So I got that. I also, they have this on their website. It's a panel, Hugs. Isn't that cute? And that's because we have 3 babies due in our family this year. And so I've got I bought the kit for this initially, and then my cousin sent me her ideas of her color schemes, and so I thought, I'll just take that pattern and use this, just get the panel and make it more to her color one. And this panel is called Bear Hugs. Now these things you can get at the Stitching Post. And then I had so much fun with those pillowcase kits that I thought I'm going to make 3 more. My older grandson's mother and her older son are all sheltering in place. And here's how there's so many different adjustments going on in families. So because my son is a medical worker and his wife is a medical worker, and they are on the front lines of all of this, he and his ex-wife decided it was safer for their son to shelter in place with his mother and not have to go back and forth. And so it's it's been hard for them because he misses his son, and my poor ex-daughter-in-law, she's now a full-time parent, 24/7 at home, homeschooling. Bless her heart. And but she has a wonderful sense of humor. So when I made last week, I made 3 pillowcases for other extended family members and sent them off. I thought this is just such a fun thing, and not only do I need my own excitement, if you would call it that, but I want to support emotionally those other people in my family. And so I decided, well, I'm going to make a few pillowcases. But I have lots of pillowcase fabric, but I've been looking at it for a long time. And I decided I just need a different view too, if you know what I mean. And so I bought pillowcase kits a couple of weeks ago, and it was so much fun. So it wasn't fabric I had in my stash. They were kits put together at the stitching post. It was simple, the patterns inside the kit, simple, easy peasy, and I got to look at fabric that I didn't have to buy yardages of, or that I had been seeing in my stash forever. That was so much fun for me that I decided when I'm going to do the next set of pillowcases that I wanted to pick out 3 for my grandson, his older brother, and his mom. And they had at the stitching post this awesome pillowcase kits. So here they are. So this one is, you know, it's got all the giraffes and the birds and the elephants and the different colorway, zebra, and another colorway. Isn't that fabulous? So for the 3 of them, I got the same fabric in 3 different colorways. And I'm going to this week be making these, and it's these kits are for a standard size pillowcase. And so you can mail order those from the Stitching Post also, and they have a wide variety of pillowcase kits. And I don't know, it just lifted my spirit just to look at some new fabric. Yeah, so that's what I did yesterday when, you know, I only go out, just to give you an idea, my mailbox where my mail is delivered is across the street from the back door of the Stitching Post. So when I do my weekly travel out to get my mail, I have the opportunity to order something and have it just dumped in my car at the back door. You know, yeah, it's just different, isn't it? I can't get over how different it is. So when I picked up my mail, there was 2 packages stuffed from Old World Quilt Shop, and they were Quilty Kindness, Stitchy Kindness from Monique and the girls at Old World Quilt Shop. And I love the note that came with it. Now, I know the note was written by Deb. I know her writing style already. So I'm going to share with you this pile. But I have to tell you, the most exciting thing in the whole pile, they could not know how timely this package arrived. because my daughter-in-law, who's the ER nurse, has been loving her surgical bonnets that I have been sewing. And she shared them with a couple of girlfriends, of which I'll have G insert a picture right here. I can do that without even asking their permission because you can't, all you can see is their eyes because of the bonnet and the masks that they have to wear. But oh, it just warmed my heart that somehow something I made, and isn't that what quilting's all about? That something you make is, however rudimentary it may look, that someone is enjoying it or appreciating it or loving it. But because of that, she had several more coworkers who were interested in that bonnet because it's for long hair. And I'll link in the description below the Etsy pattern that I ordered. The big trouble I'm having is bias tape. I ran out of the bias tape that I have here, and I knew that I had bias tape maker. It's not hard to make, and I did make some, but it's a pain without the bias tape maker. And so apparently, thank goodness, Deb had heard me lamenting that I could not find my bias tape maker, and she sent me one. Oh, I have 8 bonnets to make. This is going to be a lifesaver. Thank you, Old World Quilt Shop. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Monique. And so here's the rest of the goodies. Oh, I'll have to read you the note. It says bias maker. I think I heard you couldn't find yours. Yeah, I couldn't find mine. And then hooks. These are a package. Look at these, $3.95. Tree ornament hooks. Hooks just saw these and they look handy. So, oh, I see. I'm going to be able to use this for both my wool ornaments and my cross stitch ornaments because they're like little Christmas tree hooks with a little clamp on them. Oh, I love that. How cool is that? Ooh, I hope they have more of those. Ribbon, no reason. And I love the way they wrap their Spargo ribbon around these clothespins. But look at the flowers on that. Isn't that just adorable? It was like Christmas. It was like Christmas in April. I can't tell you, I couldn't stop grinning. I still can't stop grinning. Bee pins. Bee pins. Well, we know why. Oh. I'm going to put these in my, my felted Beehive that I made at Old World Quilt Shop. These are going to be perfect. Perfect. And then linen, which was obviously maybe they ordered it and hadn't intended to have this kind of linen in their shop or something. I don't know. But look at this piece of linen. I have no idea the count. I have no idea the type. But oh my gosh. I think I can finally start relaxing when it comes to the linen. I'll have to figure out, I know that there's a formula and a way for you to figure out the count on linen. Maybe it's a 28, like I would know. Yeah. And then what next? Whoa. The first attempt, you know, you have to realize that if you order wool from Old World Quilt Shop, and I'll link it below, you're going to get a A+ product. And the colors are to die for. No pun intended. But it's awesome. So this was, apparently Deb must have started dyeing some wool. And this was her first attempt. And I am here to tell you, I'll take all of her first attempts. Yeah, I'll take all of her first attempts. So if that just couldn't be over the top, look at this fabric. All these little fat quarters. I mean, aren't they just... awesome, awesome, awesome. So today, after all that, I'm like, holy moly, life is, yeah, it's, oh, and I forgot this. A couple charms. She threw in a couple charms. I just love these charms, especially on, if you do a lot of, and Old World is really a great Sue Spargo shop in terms of product. They carry her thread, her ribbons, all kinds of wool, her patterns, books. Really in Arizona, Old World is, and they do mail order to the rest of the world, is a Sue Spargo mecca. And so there's a lot of little charms that you can use, and this little charm, if you can see it, it's a little key. They have a whole rack of little charms. I just love them all. And I actually think this might go in a project that I'm thinking about already. And then this one is too perfect. It's 2 glasses of wine and a wine bottle. I'm thinking that needs to go on one of Sue's circles. Yeah. So now we're going to get back to finishing prepping the quail. And then I'm going to talk a bit about the bonnets, the surgical bonnets. So hang tight. So I traced out all of my pattern pieces, and I separated them. I didn't just trace the bird, even though she doesn't overlap, because I know my cutting is going to be, you know, you never can cut perfectly on the line. And since this particular pattern, the designer has you butt your pieces up together, I drew them all separately and then cut them apart. This is why I save all of my pieces of soft fuse, because it was a scrap piece that all of these pieces fit on. And then I laid out all the wool in my kit, and I examined them, because as I always find that I kind of want to mix it a little bit, and they did such an exceptional job of picking the wool out that there was only one piece that I really wanted to change out of something in my scrap, because I wanted a little more pattern to the piece. I mean, this You're never going to get exactly in your kit the wool that the designer used because, you know, it's from the designer's stash. But this little, I just think that little quail is so sweet. And I'm excited to have that pillow in my living room. So I went ahead, this is the background piece that came in the kit, and I fused the Pellon SF101 on the back. And now my iron is hot enough to start fusing my different motifs down on the wool. And I kind of just give it a hit just to kind of get them all down there. And then I go back over them. And I don't iron so much as I press down. I see a few neighbors. In the beehive here, I have two banks of windows. One along what would be like the northwest side of the house, and one on the southeast side of the house. And so I'm kind of up in this perch, and I can see what my neighbors are up to. And even though it's cold and windy, everybody looks like a lot of people are out working in their yard. Now I'm going to flip these all over. And I'm going to steam fuse them from the back. I use steam. Yeah, that's who I am. I've never had a problem with it. And it definitely has to do with your climate. If you find that some wool pieces are starting to come up before you can get them stitched down, you can staple the center of that piece to keep it in place. And I'm going to just this is going to be so cute. She has very clear basic designs. You know, her pattern isn't reversed, so you do have to reverse it with the light box. And I use I have two sizes of scissors. My favorite are the Kai scissors, and they are sold at the Stitching Post here in Sisters. And I like the 5-inch and then the 1.5-inch. This little 1.5-inch is just really good for those fine, especially like if you're cutting out letters, the center of the center like of the alphabet or something like that. So I'm cutting out my feathers. She said you can go ahead and do the embroidery background first, but she must not know me. I can just see that I would do the whole embroidery background, and then my bird would not be sitting in the right space. So I am, on the other hand, going to first fuse my bird down, and then do the embroidery afterwards. After I've stitched my bird, I'll do the embroidery. I love embroidery too. See, this is, I've said it before, my life is filled with handwork, and I like embroidery as much as I like everything else. Oh, look at that feather. Isn't that cool? That is very cool. So this is going to be very much like a jigsaw puzzle, putting this together, since you are just butting them up together. You know, I had heard on the news, on one of the news things that was on, that that's the other thing that is getting out of stock. Forget the toilet paper now, it's the puzzles. People are starting to get bored with themselves. My dad used to be one of those stinkers. When we would do puzzles as kids, he would hide one piece so that he could be the one that put the last piece in. Maybe he only did that once, but it's the one time I remember. Yeah. I can see where the little scissors in the tight spots are going to come in handy when I start cutting out the bird pieces. Oh yeah, that is, maybe I'll trim it a little bit with this. That is so cool. Oh, I like it already. Now you see how this piece, I have two pieces fit on there, and there's this big chunk here. I save this chunk in the pile in my little wool boxes for scraps, because that's how I end up changing out some kits that I have, or if I need just a little chunk on some pattern that I'm doing. So I will definitely be saving that piece. If you decide that you don't like this butting the pieces up together, which this is the first time I'm doing it, then you can add a little bit and overlap them, if that makes you more comfortable. But I decided, I'm always overlapping because that's what other designers have done with their patterns, but I have decided with this particular one to actually do it like the designer intended, to see how I like it. See, that's a big chunk, piece of wool that I can save for some future use. Okay, I've cut all my pieces out, so here's the moment of truth. I get to put my puzzle together. So I'm going to move, I got this wool mat at the Stitch and Post here in Sisters, and I love it. I mean, and the reason is because when you're doing any kind of fusing, it pulls the heat through the piece, through the mat, so that you really get a good stickum. Is that what we call it? Yeah, that's a word I use. That's a word I. So now I've got to figure out how to put my little quail together. And I think I'm going to start with my feather. And this is a, and you know, I'm not one that, like, oh my gosh, it's got to be exactly perfect. No, because I know before I fuse it with the iron, I'm going to be moving it around a little bit. So I will show you how, if you can just watch how I'm figuring this out. Now sometimes I will use a ruler or something to make sure, but I'm just going to eyeball it to make sure that I have about the same amount. And I know I need a little bit of edge because you know, it's a pillow, so the edging is going to be on the side a little bit. So I'm gently pulling the paper off the back. This goes here. This is totally different from the way I would normally do it, so I'm kind of anxious to, I'm usually putting, you know, tucking under, and let's see if this is all going to fit together. It's sure looking good. Gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing how this kind of, see how this goes. Oh, it goes like that. It's kind of funny how you don't quite know which way to turn a piece till you kind of set it on top of the pattern piece here. So this goes like this. Now these pieces, I think, are able to kind of overlap a little bit because they're so tiny. I'm going to stick that one there. Yep. Then I got to put the hat on. And then I got to put the little wattle thing. And then I got to put this last little piece. Now see, this is where I'm going to take a look and maybe move it. I'm going to see where it is on the edge. Oh, that is so freaking cute. Yeah. But I can see that I need to move it over to my right. So here we go. I'm going to move the whole thing just piece by piece. And I'm doing this before I fuse it because we know what happens once it's fused. My one piece is just a little bit longer than the other, so I'm just tucking it under the piece. It's not going to, no one's even going to notice it. Oh, that is just too stinking cute. Get my iron all hot again. And again, I'm not going to iron, I'm going to press. Perfection. So now we're going to fuse it down. Got a little calcification in my iron. I'm going to pull it, throw it over the back side, and then I'm going to fuse it from the back side. Oh, that is just so cute. Are you ready to see? Oh, so now I'm going to be able to embroider his feet and the trees and twigs behind, and do some embellishment stitches on the actual piece and on the feathers. This is going to be so cute on my couch. Oh, but you know, you could frame this. Oh my gosh, there's so many options to this. So that's going to be on the need to stitch list. But I think I am making mine into a pillow because I just think he's too cute. And then I have the flicker. But you can get these kits, all the wool you need, at the Old World Quilt Shop. And you won't be disappointed by what arrives. They just do such a fabulous job of kitting things. I wanted to show you a couple of other things before we say goodbye. One is a Sue Spargo project that I've been working on for a while. I took this class, I don't want to say years ago, but I took this class with Sue and Tony, Belinda Phillips, and Sue and Tony have taught several times together, and they are also good friends. And Tony lives about 10 miles from me, further out in the woods. And she's just a lovely, lovely person. But one time, a few years ago, she and Sue taught a class together, and you were to design your own project. And then they would help you with the design, and then, you know, all the Sue stitching, you know, which is amazing. So I have quite an affinity. I've had some very heartwarming, amazing times in France, and so I have an affinity for that country and for Paris. And so I wanted to make a wool wall hanging to commemorate that love. And so I did. I hand appliqued with cotton the Eiffel Tower, and now you'll have to have a little grace when you see this, because this is in my earlier days of Sue stitching, although I can't say that I'm a professional now, but I have had, but that was definitely in my early days. So I'm still struggling a little bit on choices. It's not the stitching that grabs me. It's the decision making of what stitches to use. And so I want to show you that project. Okay, so I'm going to take you over there. Hold on a second. I'm going to turn this phone off. So this is my project. And I talked about it in a recent Quilt Roadie video, but what I've done since we talked was I've gotten the letters down. So live, love, laugh. And this has to be moved so you can see that. And then I'm putting thank you 2020 to signify that the Eiffel Tower lit up in writing merci as a thank you for all of the police, firemen, paramedics, nurses, doctors, everyone who was on the forefront of this coronavirus. So I decided, well, I'm going to add that down here. So I'm going to be stitching those letters down, and then I'm going to continue on with my embellishment. I have my little spider here, and I need to make a web for him. I need to do something over here. I haven't decided. I need to finish this dragonfly. I love dragonflies. And then you can see I have lots of stitching still left to do on some of these flowers, because as Sue says, you're never done with stitching. So that is what I'm going to do. And then I have one more thing to show you. So hang on. I'm going to have to plug in my camera because it looks like it is going to have a high speed come apart here. So sorry to make you dizzy. So I got I told you that my daughter-in-law, who's an ER nurse, everyone loved her scrub cap that I made her, and so she says there's more that wants to be done, and so I wanted to pick out some fun fabrics for scrub caps, and she says there's a guy with long hair and he needs to, and the reason these caps are so great is that they cover your long hair. And I will put the link down below for these if you want to make them. But I tell you, I have it. They actually take a bit of fabric to make, because you're folding and folding so that when you cut it out, it comes out to a full circle. So I've been going through my stash. Like a fat quarter won't work because of the way you have to fold it. And so these are the fabrics so far that have made the break for new scrub caps. So I loved this little turtle fabric. And then we have bicycles. I just think that'd be so fun. Star Wars. Guitars. Microbrews. Chili peppers. Sun. Rainbow sun. Rainbow sun. And then I'm hoping, praying that I can get something out of this superhero fabric. So that's what I'm going to be doing this afternoon. I'm going to be trying to figure out some scrub caps and making those, and maybe be able to finish them up and get them in the mail tomorrow. I hope all of you are having fun in your beehives. I hope that that you're still being excited by either finishing things or starting new things. I'm kind of all over the board, and I always have such a great time up here. So I'll put all the links for everything that I have shown in the drop down below, and I hope that you are having a wonderful time sheltering in place under quarantine, and that you're staying healthy. Yeah, that's number one. That's number one. And that we'll see you here next time, okay? Love you guys.